Now, the next instrument I want to talk about is this piano that comes in the chorus. So in this case again, I have Britson as a preamp. I believe the sound comes from Radical pianos in Reason. After the preamp, I run the sound. This is pretty much like Synths 2, but it's got a bit more control, it's a bit more clean, and also is half the price. What this is, this tames resonances, especially in this area, and it makes sure that the sound doesn't have a lot of nasty artifacts. Now, I use it very sparingly. I don't really go in and go very heavy-handed on it. And this is the stuff that it removes. See how the sound is nicer and smoother? As you see, this is a very dense mix in which a lot of instruments compete for the same space, so some of them need to have a bit of an edge. And I use this, which is Xfer's version of OTT again, which is a very well-known plugin if you're into dance music. This splits the sound in 3 frequency ranges and then applies compression and expansion to each and every one of them. And I use it to supercharge the sounds that I want to push forward. See how it instantly becomes more detailed and pokey. I really like this guy. And while we're at it, next one is a bit of transient design by Stilwell, who are the guys who make plugins for Reaper. This thing sounds incredible and it's not very expensive too. I use this then to dial back a bit of that sharp attack at the beginning of the sound. This was my main EQ for the whole production. Gave it a bit of body, made it a bit bigger. As usual, last one is Pt.3 that I use to sculpt the sound. There's a bit of compression here, and then a couple of resonances that are very nasty. And finally, this is from Native Instruments, and it's their vibe verb, for the lack of a better term. I like it because it does the modern verb sound really well and with no effort at all. While I was mixing the song, I realized that it lacked a bit of texture and movement in the chorus. So I created this extra part that just takes care of adding a bit more of excitement in the chorus. And this is what it sounds like. The white noise helps it translate better in the wall of synths that you're listening to. It's panned on one side, and also, as you will see, it's very heavily EQ'd. Again, goes through Britson for color. Then the EQ. I tend to remove a lot of stuff from the 3K area because that's where my ears tend to pick up on harshness. And in the case of this sound, I've also like heavily high passed it and low shelved it so that there is no bottom into it. Obviously, we don't need any of that. Bit of compression. Just to make it jump out more. And finally, sculpting. Halfway through the mixing process, I found myself needing more sound to fill up the frequencies and have a lot of things happening in the sides. So I decided to create a pad using Zoe's voice, and that's how I did it. I cut one note and put it in the sample track that you find in Cubase, but Logic's got one that's just the same, and sampler in Ableton Live. You can do that with any sampler that you want. In this case, I took one note, I tuned it, and then I sprayed it on a keyboard. That's her voice. The first thing that I've done with it, because the vocal track is mono, I had to make it stereo and wide. So I've used this plugin by Brainworks called Stereomaker. If you're listening in your cans or in your monitors, you will hear the massive difference that this makes. After that, a tiny bit of phasing. Then I added realm for flavor. After all of that, I did a mix down of it, and then I've imported it onto this track where I worked on it further. In this case, the first thing to happen was a lot of distortion with the capitator. just to give it like that nasty edge, that grainy presence that fills up the mix. Britson again. That also takes care of high pass and low pass. Fake sidechain. Then squasher, which is like OTT, just to bring out a lot of detail in the high frequencies. EQ, and as you can see, the mid is different from the sides, and I also turned down the volume of the mid section to make it wider. Oh boy, that sounds out of phase. But what happened is that by mistake I loaded this stereo delay plugin because I like to use the Haas effect on many things to make it wider. So a widener plus another widener in a weird way counteracted each other, and now the sound is wide, lush, and it doesn't sound phasey. Oh boy, that's really hard to listen to. I feel like my brain is inside out now. Last in line, usual Pro Q3. Well, this is all for now. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough of the mix. I hope I've managed to give you something you can use. I hope all was clear. If it wasn't, or if you have any questions, please get in touch, let me know, and I'll see you next time.